Here you see the Wisconsin boat just did a regular stroke trying to get that boat. And again, that tends to want to push the boat forward. You run the risk of detaching, but not this time. Good start by everybody, everyone right at the same instant.
Yeah, and again, we usually just go through a starting sequence in these boats where you take a couple shorter strokes in order to get the boat up to speed before you start taking the full-length strokes and get into your high sprint strokes to get the boat all the way up to speed.
We just caught Wisconsin in their high strokes, about 40 strokes a minute. And if they're the lightweights, that's probably a little lower than we saw them in some of the earlier races.
Yeah,
there's
so
our men's collegiate double there on the medals, coming in the medals stand, Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and looking at this shot of these women's fours coming down, this should be our 4 outside crews. It's a look at our Colorado, our Jacksonville, our Lafayette, and the Wisconsin crew just rowing off your picture now. Oh, they're still on the picture.
Still
there
on
they
the
are.
picture.
Yeah, so these are your four outside crews, lanes 6, 5, 4, and 3.
So if you can discern from the picture here, again, the staggered start would be have your lane to the right, which would be your Wisconsin crew. Look to be a slight bit ahead, but that's because the staggered start. As they come around the bridge, then it should line right back up again. So Wisco and Lafayette, looking for them in the middle of course. As far as coming through that bridge, maybe first, maybe second.
We've seen some really good racing from these Lafayette 4s so far this weekend, so we anticipate that they are going to be some very tough competition for the rest of these crews in this women's JV4 final.
Right before that screen cut a little bit there, it looks like that Lafayette crew was starting to do just what we thought they were going to do, is move out a little bit on the Jacksonville and the Colorado boats. And here comes that Wisconsin boat coming around that abutment.
Yeah, and on the right of your picture, you see the crew from Bowdoin, and in between the Wisconsin and the Bowdoin crews is that crew from MIT.
Mm-hmm. And you can see those boats making that turn. 1, 2, 3 strokes, 4 strokes. Trying to get around quickly, few strokes as possible. You don't want to overtax your port rowers to try and help them bring it around. You do what you can with the rudder, but you don't want to put too much rudder on, so you get a little bit of help from your rowers on that port side.
Yeah, so based on what the camera director decides to do here, we'll see if we can figure out what the margin might be between these Lafayette and these Wisconsin crews. It does look like our center lane crews are going to be our race leaders right now. Lafayette here in the maroon jerseys, certainly leading that side of the field.
Yeah, it's Jacksonville behind them, and back on the far end of Colorado as they're just about to leave the screen.
Here's one of our men's double.
Yeah, double the
gold medalist there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're back on a shot with our women's JV4 from Lafayette, potentially race leaders. Without a shot of Wisconsin, it is hard to say what the margin might be, but with the camera on this boat, we're suspecting that these guys might be out in front at the moment.
So even though these two middle lanes, lanes 3 and 4 seated, it appears to be that lane 4 may be your top seed, because we're seeing that again and again as they come through here. No, there's a good shot of all those boats going by, all parallel to each other.
Yeah, so it looks like it is Lafayette and Wisconsin out in front, but a good race that is shaping up between Bowdoin and MIT on the close side.
Mm-hmm. Wisconsin still holding that edge over Lafayette.
Ooh, I think I'd call it
You think the
Lafayette
other
over
way
Wisconsin.
around?
I think so. Yeah, I think it looks like to
I think
me
you're right.
that it's Lafayette here in lane 4, Wisconsin in lane 3, and then it's going to be close to call, I think, between MIT and Bowdoin and Jacksonville over in lane 5.
Well, that's pretty much the standard chevron pattern right out of lane 4. with Lafayette in that lead. But again, it goes back to second, third.
Yeah, from this view, it does look like maybe our crew from Colorado has dropped off the back of the field, maybe not going to be in it for the medals today.
Looks like the MIT boat is losing ground or has lost ground to that Bowdoin boat as well.
Oh, I think it's still on. I think for the bronze medal is going to be the race here with Lafayette continuing to lead and Wisconsin holding on to that second position, depending on what that margin might be and whether or not Lafayette is still within striking distance of the Badgers. It might be the race for bronze here. That is the story of this race.
Well, if I had to pick that story for bronze, I'm going to put it towards Bowdoin at the, Bowdoin at the minute. MIT's boat looks like they just had a little bobble of the blades right there, which is it's hard to get that speed back up once you lose that little bit of impetus there. But out in front, the Lafayette-Wisconsin duo going to town here. And still, as you mentioned before, it looked like it was Lafayette just a little bit ahead of Wisco. Bowdoin now in a much clearer position in the bronze medal position, followed by the MIT boat in lane 2.
Now let's see what Bowdoin has here as they come past the island and through this last 500 meters into the last 250, whether or not they can get that overlap on Wisconsin. It does look like between these three boats that there might be a boat length between Lafayette and Wisconsin, and then maybe Wisconsin leading Bowdoin by a little bit of open water.
Yeah.
And of course, like we mentioned earlier, these Wisconsin athletes have already raced at least once today. So good effort from them to show up and medal here in this event after already getting one race in their legs. And a good race it was, too.
Lafayette rowing about 35 strokes a minute with about 20 strokes to go. Wisconsin with one boat of open water down to that Lafayette boat. And coming up here for potential bronze here with a little more than a boat length of water is Bowdoin in lane 1.
Yeah, and it's a mighty fight here for positions 4 and 5.
Absolutely. That's a half a length difference.
Not going to be on your screen. This is your Wisconsin boat now that is rowing to a silver medal behind Lafayette. Lafayette is going to come away with the win here in the women's JV4 ahead of this boat, Wisconsin. And Wisconsin leading Bowdoin as they went by the commentary booth, but it could be that we are having a very late charge on the far side from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Cox in hand in the air, and the Jacksonville boat would signify something exciting is happening. We just can't see the margin down here.
I think that was she was happy with the movement of the boat. And you know that excitement is hard to keep yourself contained and not move inside that boat. When you want to let it rip, yeah, you're going to do it.
So I think we will have to wait for results. My guess is that it was Bowdoin. That was a big margin when they went by here.
Yeah.
And I see that hug there on the Bowdoin boat between the three women and her stroke. So.